Welcome to the final regular installment of Phantasy Star 4. In this episode, we take on the final dungeon, the final boss, and have a good long look at the ending and see how it all shakes out. Okay. You've paid for the whole seat, but you will only need the edge. Welcome to the final dungeon. No treasures, only evil. And the evil tends to hurt you. The Imago mages are actually some of the worst things you'll encounter in here because they cast corrosion, but they can also throw out Legion and Death Spell and all that sort of goodness. Pretty much all of the monsters here have some kind of area attack, but they can also give some pretty good drops like that Saldu I just picked up. In any case, for this official completion of the game, I'm bringing Raja, just in case I totally screw up in any other aspect. Raja will pull me out. And that last battle I got hit by Legion. This is really the part of the game where enemies start using your most powerful attacks against you, and it hurts about as much as you'd expect. Dark Riders are actually pretty weak here, unlike the way their cousins were in earlier dungeons. However, they can hit everyone in your party. I was actually spared a large number of random encounters for some reason. I just didn't pick up that much interference from the dungeon monsters. Maybe they finally failed a morale check somewhere along the line. I can't say that I'm complaining too much, though I do wish I had encountered a Protoforce. A Protoforce is a monster that occasionally appears in the final dungeon. That's basically the final boss of Phantasy Star 1. It gives amazing experience, but it's really tough to deal with. However, it's time for the final boss. Okay, Profound Darkness Phase 1 is not that much to worry about, so it's a good time to get all your buffs up without interference. There's actually a very tiny chance that Holy Word will work on the first phase of the Profound Darkness, defeating it immediately. I have actually successfully done it once. However, it's not something to really rely on. Phase 1 does not have any area attacks, so it's best to hold off on your major healing spells and items for this whole phase. The Profound Darkness is actually, by the way, the only multi-form boss in the entire Phantasy Star series. Well, classic Phantasy Star series. I don't know about online. I haven't really played that for more than an hour total. But still, it's the only boss in the classic Phantasy Star series that has multiple stages in one fight. I don't know when the earliest was that they showed up in the Final Fantasy series. The earliest I remember was 4, but someone can feel free to correct me. It might have showed up in 3J for all I know. And this is where keeping Rika with her Destruct Claw works out. Now, sometimes the Profound Darkness... Oh, first off, Phase 2. This is where things can get a bit worrisome, because this is where it starts using area attacks and stronger attacks and so on. By the way, some people have noticed that sometimes when they're playing the game, they'll have their guy heal, but the Profound Darkness will shift even though the turn didn't end with any damage being done. That's because the Profound Darkness shift forms at the end of each combat turn. At the end of the combat turn where enough damage has been done to it to cause it to shift forms, anyway. Yeah, that's why things get a little bit worrisome. It has a bunch of possible area attacks. One thing I've noticed is that the forms of the Profound Darkness actually run fairly analog to the various forms that Dark Force takes throughout the course of the game. For example, for the first form you had the Blob, and for this form you have the Beast. And the last form, the Warrior. This is where things can get a bit tricky, because this is the only boss in the game that can actually debuff your party. And when the Profound Darkness does that, get those buffs up as soon as possible. Oh yeah, there's Megid. Get those buffs back up as soon as possible, because the Profound Darkness uses Megid and it hurts. You see, that's what it's like with the buffs up, and if I didn't have Barrier up, I would have definitely lost Raja, possibly even Rika, or even Rune as well. This is really the boss fight where Raja's true brokenness comes to the fore. For example, that miracle skill actually healed Ren along with the rest of the meat bags. Occasionally the Profound Darkness will give you a break like there, but I would not count on it. I've had fights with the Profound Darkness where it used nothing but Megid. So the Profound Darkness, like Dark Force, is weak to FS-type spells, Saint Fire, and the Destructibility. Well, the Destruct element. However, it is also by far the most durable boss in the whole game. If you're not taking Raja with you, you should invest in a bunch of Stardews and so on. I have some ideas of how to take on the Profound Darkness with other characters in the 5th slot, but I haven't yet actually put them into practice. Once I manage to get that down, expect some bonus videos. You know, something about this boss fight makes me wonder if we've gotten into a bit of a lover's quarrel between Eldritch Abominations. Which reminds me, I've seen some people try to argue in the bastion of American intellectualism called the YouTube comments that the Profound Darkness wasn't actually evil, but there are some problems with that, considering that the very existence of the Profound Darkness causes things to die. That was a very close one. If the randomizer had gone a different way, Arun might have been KO'd even with Deban up. Well, Blessing up, because Raja. And just a combination attack for y'all. Yeah, I can't say I've really encountered a game where buffs are as important to fighting bosses, except for maybe Treasure of the Rudras. Well, okay, 16-bit JRPGs. Later games are definitely dependent on exploiting that sort of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of damage we're dealing with without, well, you know, buffs. Ren is out of options and out of luck. You know what, I'm just gonna use Megid again. I got the technique points for it. Well, what do you know? And that's it. That's the final boss of Phantasy Star 4. Load-bearing boss. By the way, I cannot affect the speed of the text crawl in the ending of this game. It just goes on its own however fast it wants. As I said, everyone's helping out for the final boss fight. And everyone has to go home. Haven't had in a long time. I want to know about your life, Raja. And Ren is sorta yoinking it for his little space jaunt. Well, Ren could bring it around again once in a while? Maybe? Oh, don't put it that way. Yeah, I guess for Ren, now is when the real work begins. Yeah, Rika does have a bit of a tough choice of who to go with. Yeah, that's one of the things that still gets me about Phantasy Star 4. The characters actually tried to understand each other. But I'm going to have to start kissing ass again if I ever want tenure. Fair enough. Compared to what? Though considering the profound darkness was out there, I think Lutz had in mind that there might be other eldritch abominations floating around the cosmos. You go do whatever it is you crazy kids do these centuries. And that's it for Phantasy Star 4. Final verdict? You already know how I feel about this game. I place it above most everything else from the same era except for Earthbound. It's also a rather unique piece because I think it's the only game that came out in the 16-bit era that was created specifically to close out a franchise. And it actually had a decent ending. Surprise, surprise. So anyway, I would like to start giving my thanks. First off, once again, thanks to Sega for actually getting this game out there. Second, I would like to also thank psalgo.com, which was the source for all of the pictures I used for the bonus material. And I would also like to give a nod to Thoril and Meteor9 for their own prior Let's Plays of various Phantasy Star games, which can be found on lparchive.org. And I think I'm gonna be taking a bit of a break after this one. Well, there's still the bonus videos of me trying to take on the final boss with the other characters from the 5 slot. But other than that, I don't really have any definite plans. Maybe a couple of things I'll practice. And possibly that short game theater thread I was musing about earlier. I don't think I'll be doing another RPG for a fair while. The thing about doing the action-y sort of games is that they didn't require nearly the amount of editing that this did. It was a bit of a bear of a project, but still it's one that I'm glad I did. And that's the end of the classic Phantasy Star saga. Ending where we began, with Alice. This has been R-Typer. This was Phantasy Star 4. See you next game.